server and some changes I made recently to try to fix the names. Something must have gone wrong, and so I thought for a second that he had left accidentally or who knows what. So I had to call out and ask, okay, who's still here? But it turned out that only Puxii had left. Everybody else was here. Everybody being myself, Sevain, and the Raffy. So the game did continue here. So to clear this up. This new zoom mode, this took a long time to get perfect, so I hope everybody enjoys it. It's to me, I think it's a great new feature, being able to go out and see the whole battlefield and select units and buildings and issue orders from there. I think it's great. I'm very happy with it. So now you can see that the Raffy is responding with a large amount of infantry to go against all those siege tanks from Sevain, which would normally do very well. And on the other hand, you can see that Sevain, being very intelligent, now watch what he does here. He starts retreating his siege tanks because he sees these infantry swarms coming. He doesn't want to have anything to do with that. So they're moving away. They're slowly creeping away from the infantry. They don't want to get demolished that way. And they are falling back behind Sevain's line of infantry. Again, very intelligent tactics. Infantry in numbers actually do fairly well against troopers. So Sevain is continuing to pay attention for the most part, making sure that his units don't take too much damage. He's going to lose that siege tank. But you can see he's just selecting everything there and retreating it all. Just telling everything to get out of there. Everybody move back to the main line. And in a moment, I believe, very soon, you will see a large order come through his own starport, which will give him a great counter to what the Raffy is doing, and that's a good bully tactic. Is just like in poker, when you have a huge bank, you can make a lot of moves you wouldn't normally do. You take a lot of risks you wouldn't normally take. So, now here you can see the anti-infantry counter, anti-trooper counter coming back from Sevain. So he's having all of his frontline retreat back to the reserve line of rocket launchers that are coming in to destroy all those troopers, and that's going to probably work out very well for Sevain in general. So Sevain's got the right idea, and because he had so much money saved up, and maybe he was thinking about a Merc attack or who knows what, but when you have the luxury of a huge economy, you can save up a lot of money and basically just wait to see what your opponent's going to do. And then once you see him make a power move, you just immediately go to your starport or all your factories and queue up a whole bunch of, effectively hard counter units. These rocket launchers here are basically hard counters against troopers. They do extremely well against troopers. Not so effective against heavier units, but very good against buildings and foot units. So you can see the troopers are just turning into an awful lot of little red blood patches on the sand. And that's how that's going to go. Plus, with all the siege tanks backing them up and a bunch of infantry running forward, some of whom are going to die to friendly fire, I'm sure. You can see that Sevain's feeling pretty confident. He's in a pretty good position here. The Raffy has been mining all this time without much in the way of harassment aside from the early Merc attacks. But even so, obviously here he's queued up a whole pile of Devastators, and here's Sevain with a bunch of mobile trading posts, just completely scouting out the Raffy's back door here, checking all around his base. They've probably been crawling around the edges of the board for quite some time now. The Raffy only has, it looks like, only 2 heavy vehicle factories, which is pretty thin for the Raffy. He usually has a lot more than that. I think I only see the 2 though. Yeah, that's unusual for the Raffy. He normally has he can pump on an awful lot of factories. So here comes the major wave attack from Sevain, leading off with some flak trikes going after an air harass. He's going to get a few shots off at some things. Popping those things pretty heavy. Took down 1 carryall. Funny that the Raffy ended up moving a couple of AA trikes in there, a couple of flak trikes in there by carryall. But here come the Devastators, but frankly there's just too much support here. The Devastators are too slow, too many rocket launchers, even though they don't do all that much damage to it. There's just literally too many of them right now. On a credit for credit basis, Devastators obviously will spank them, but But there are a lot more credits and rocket launchers here available, and there's a really nice move by Sevain. Look what he did with the infantry. All those infantry that were at the front line, they basically just peeled away and let the siege tanks come to form the front line. And even though they've left the rocket launchers to take the brunt of the Devastator attack and to deal with a lot of things on their own, so they've taken a lot of casualties. This group of infantry up here in the upper left, they've reached the enemy base right on the front line and have started to do a lot of damage to the enemy buildings, and that's kind of the sealer of the deal right there. Even with all this firepower that's coming from the front, I think the fact that he snuck this group of infantry in the side and started to do a lot of damage to buildings, I thought that was a great move. Great outflanking maneuver by Sevain, and here comes what is basically the end game right here, where Sevain throws the last bit of his money into a rear attack, and looks like that one's going to be successful as well. So Sevain is doing quite well. Got an awful lot of units at the front, bringing in the rocket launchers, and you can see, there's this is where, watch this. I don't know if you'll get to see it, but it's already happened several times where the Raffy has done one of his favorite tactics, which is Devastator drops. He'll fly a Devastator right into the middle of enemy units and then just self-destruct it immediately, which costs him a lot of money, but can destroy a heck of a lot of enemy units if they're not careful. I think he costs a lot of casualties that way, but he's just taken too much damage, and now he's lost one of his heavy factories. He still has his starport, but it's just not enough. He's starting to lose more refineries in the upper right, and all he's got is a whole bunch of flak trikes. He's got an awful lot of flak trikes driving around in groups, but obviously there's not much they can do. So I'm not sure where they're going and what they intend to do exactly. Right as it looked like Sevain was getting out some sonic tanks, the Raffy announces GG. Game is over for him. He knows when he's beat, and I had to say Sevain played a fantastic game here. I really thought he was dead, and I do think that the Raffy could have beaten him if he had scouted him out a little bit earlier and knew what his capabilities were. If he had, information is so important. So many times when you watch these games, I haven't casted one in quite a while, but if you go back and look at so many of these games that are played, they really come down to gathering intelligence. People who haven't scouted just end up having so many problems. So, if you don't know what your opponent is doing, you have no idea when to attack, no idea how to defend, how to respond. It's very, very valuable. So, advice to all players watching this: get some, get that first flak trike or quad that you start with if you have starting units. If not, try to get an LVF out as soon as